Welcome to the Cozy Storytime, your peaceful space to unwind and relax. Before we start, make sure to subscribe and like the video for more cozy stories every night. So, where are you watching it from? And what are you doing right now? I hope you enjoyed this story. Take a moment to settle in, find a comfortable spot, and let the world outside fade away. As the gentle rhythms of the night surround you, let the story transport you to another place, one where magic lingers in the air and ancient secrets wait in the shadows. Feel the weight of the day melt off your shoulders as each word brings you closer to a world that whispers of adventure, mystery, and wonder. The night is yours now, and we're about to embark on a journey together. So close your eyes if you like, or simply relax into the warmth of this moment and let the story wrap around you like a soft, soothing blanket. Are you ready? Let's begin. It feels not like peace, but like breath being held. Outside, the sky is a velvet bruise, deep purples bleeding into black, brushed with strokes of silver where starlight peeks through the clouds. You walk the corridors alone, the echo of your footsteps muffled by the thick, ancient stones beneath your feet. Each one has seen centuries pass, each one carries the memory of footsteps before yours. But tonight, they seem to listen more closely. There's a scent in the air, damp, mineral, old, like water trickling down forgotten walls. Somewhere deep in the castle, there's always the presence of the lake, seeping into the bones of the stone, pressing into the walls with patient persistence. You can smell it now, faint and strange. It reminds you of the dungeons, of places where light has never touched. The torches on the walls flicker gently, their flames unusually pale, swaying as though moved by something more than wind. The air carries something else tonight, not just cold, but a hush. A hush with weight. It presses against your skin. It breathes. You pause near the corridor that leads to the library. You weren't planning to come this way. Something drew you. The stones under your feet grow colder. The silence deepens. Then you hear it. A whisper. A voice, low and slithering. Not loud, but unmistakable. It doesn't seem to echo, as though it isn't in the air but inside the walls themselves. Or no, not quite the walls. Deeper. Below them. Beneath the surface. You freeze. You don't understand the words, but your body does. The hairs on your arms lift. Your breath catches, your lungs suddenly reluctant to pull in air. It sounds like something ancient speaking a language too old for lips. A tongue not made for humans. A sound made to slither, not speak. Your first instinct is to run. You feel your legs wanting to move, to carry you away from the weight of that sound. But something in it holds you, as though invisible threads have wound around your spine, rooting you to the stone floor. A curiosity, deep and terrible, grows in your chest. Then it stops. The silence that follows is somehow worse. Heavier. Like the last few grains of sand slipping through a glass. You remain still for a long moment, your ears straining into the dark. Nothing. Just the sound of your own breath, the slight crackle of torches. The whisper has gone, like mist dissipating into morning. But something is different. You feel watched. Not in the way a person watches from behind. No, this is colder, deeper. like something beneath the ground has noticed you and is waiting. You take a step back. The stone beneath your foot shifts ever so slightly. Not enough to make a sound, but enough for you to feel it. It shouldn't. The stones in this castle are unmoving, solid with age. But this one breathed. Just for a moment. You walk away then. Slowly, trying not to make noise, though you don't know why. Perhaps it's instinct, ancient and primal. You don't dare look back until you reach the marble stairwell. When you do, the corridor behind you looks exactly the same. The same shadows. The same flickering torchlight. But now it holds a secret. You lie in bed later, unable to sleep. Your doormates are breathing softly. Callan snores faintly, a hiccup in the rhythm of sleep. Amari is silent, as always. The moonlight creeps across the stone floor through the window, and you stare at it, your eyes tracing its path. You keep thinking about this sound. The way it curled through your mind, a tendril of darkness whispering from beneath the world. You try to convince yourself it was nothing. The castle is full of odd noises. Pipes groan. Ghosts sigh. Portraits murmur in their sleep. The walls are old. They shift. But you know better. There was something alive in that whisper. And somehow, it knew your name. The next morning, the world looks unchanged. The great hall is full of warm, golden light. The enchanted ceiling shows a clear sky, and owls flit overhead, delivering letters and breakfast gossip. Callan waves at you with a mouthful of toast. You smile, because you're supposed to. You sit down between Liz and Amari. Liz is already halfway through a book propped beside her goblet of pumpkin juice. Amari is buttering a piece of bread with that distant look he always has, like he's listening to a different world. You glance at them both. For a moment, you consider telling them about the whisper, the way the stone breathed, the chill that still clings to your skin, like cobwebs that refuse to come off. But the words catch. Something about saying it out loud makes it real. Makes it too real. So instead, you butter your own bread. You pour your tea. You laugh at Callan's failed attempt to cast a warming charm on his eggs, again. You pretend. But that night, when you walk past the same corridor, you don't look in. You keep your eyes straight ahead, even though you feel the tug again, soft and insistent. You feel it in your bones. Something waiting. You go to bed early. You close the curtains of your four-poster bed. You draw your wand and place it beneath your pillow. You whisper a protective charm your mother taught you when you were small. But when you close your eyes, the whisper comes again, not in the corridor now, but in your dreams. It winds through your mind like smoke, speaking in that same coiling, ancient tongue. A song of stone and shadow. Of something that sleeps beneath. And it whispers. You can hear me. You wake with your sheets twisted around your legs and sweat cooling on your brow. The castle sleeps on. But you do not. You lie awake and listen. Because now you know. Something beneath Hogwarts has stirred. The morning after the whisper, the castle glows golden with soft sunlight, stretching across the ancient flagstones like warm honey. But none of it touches you the way it should. The sun feels distant, veiled behind something unseen, as though the very air is holding its breath again. You walk the corridors slowly, letting your hand brush along the cool stone walls, half expecting the whispers to return with your touch. They don't. Not yet. You find Amari on the top level of the astronomy tower, seated on the edge of a low stone parapet, one leg tucked beneath him, the other swinging lazily into open air. The wind moves through his dark robes, soft and steady, and his eyes, gray like morning fog, are fixed not on the sky, but somewhere deeper, somewhere inward. He doesn't turn as you approach. You've always thought of Amari as a little like the castle itself, quiet, old in ways that don't make sense, carved from something colder than stone and harder than truth. He doesn't laugh like Callan or offer sharp, clever remarks like this. He's still, watching, like he's listening to something no one else can hear. You stand next to him in silence for a while, staring out at the sweep of the grounds. The forbidden forest is a dark shadow beyond the lawns, its treetops restless. The lake glimmers like a spill of silver ink, glassy and secretive. I heard something, you say finally. Your voice feels small in the wide morning. Last night. A voice. In the walls. Amari doesn't flinch. Doesn't even blink. Just speaks, calm and low. Parcel tongue. You turn to look at him. What? The language of serpents, he replies. It's rare. Ancient. Dangerous. Then, after a pause, he adds, you understood it? No, you admit. Not really. But it felt like it understood me. The wind shifts. Somewhere far below, a raven cries. That's enough, he says quietly. You want to ask him what he means, enough for what, but something in his tone roots the question in your throat. He finally turns his head, studying you with that unreadable gaze. Where were you when you heard it? You tell him, the corridor by the library, just before the stone steps, near the tapestry of Theophilus the Theatrical. Amari nods once. Slowly. His expression doesn't change, but you notice the way his fingers twitch slightly where they rest against the cold stone ledge. Almost like they're recalling something. Or bracing for it. I know that place, he murmurs. It's near the old plumbing lines. The original pipes from when the castle was first enchanted. Few people go down that way anymore. You tilt your head. What does that have to do with anything? He doesn't answer directly. Instead, he says, don't go back there. The words aren't a warning. They're a request. A plea, barely perceptible beneath the smoothness of his voice. But you shake your head. I have to. Whatever it is, it's awake. Amari closes his eyes for a moment. The breeze pulls at his hair. When he speaks again, there's a roughness in his voice that you don't usually hear. You're not the first to hear it. That silence is you. You lean against the stone, close enough to feel the faint warmth that lingers in his sleeve. Who else? He doesn't answer. You think of the other students. Of the missing cat 2 weeks ago. The strange puddle of water near the girls' bathroom no one could explain. A Professor Sprout's greenhouse door found ajar, glass panes cracked as though by something large and powerful moving past. You look at Amari again and ask quietly, why didn't you say anything? His jaw tightens. He stares down at the lake far below. Because once you start naming it, it grows. He doesn't mean the creature. Not really. He means the fear. You know what it is, don't you? You say softly. I have theories, he admits. None of them good. You turn the phrase over in your mind. Theories. Possibilities. Shadows cast by ideas too dangerous to speak aloud. You ask, is it dangerous? His lips part as if to answer. But he closes them again and instead says, it's ancient. And angry. You shiver, but it's not from the wind. Amari looks at you then, really looks. For a moment, the distance in his eyes lifts. You need to be careful, he says. It marks people. Not always with scratches or bruises. Sometimes with curiosity. That word stings a little. Curiosity. You hear the weight behind it. The implication. Still, you don't back down. If something is waking up under this castle, shouldn't someone know? Shouldn't we do something? He shakes his head. Sometimes the castle dreams. And sometimes it remembers. When it does, you don't wake it up. You wait. You watch. And you survive. There's a silence between you, heavy and stretching. A flock of owls wheels in the sky above the forest, their wings like parchment against the sun. Then, suddenly, Amari speaks again, so softly you almost miss it. I heard it too. 3 nights ago. In the slithering common room. Coming from the pipes. You feel your breath catch. He looks away, ashamed. Not of the voice, but of hiding it. Why didn't you tell me then? His shoulders lift slightly, a ghost of a shrug. Because it didn't speak to me. Just around me. I didn't feel chosen. You remember the way it curled into your dream. The way it said, you can hear me. You swallow hard. What do you think it is? You whisper. Amari turns his face back to the sky. The light catches in his pale eyes, like reflections on ice. He doesn't answer. Instead, he stands slowly, drawing his robes close. I'll meet you again tomorrow night. Same place as always. Don't come alone tonight. Not again. He walks away without waiting for your answer, his figure folding into the tower's spiral stair like shadow sinking into shadow. You remain a while longer, the wind threading through your hair. Beneath you, the lake stretches still and endless, and somewhere beneath the stone, beneath the castle and its long, dreaming halls, something is moving. The whisper didn't come again last night. But now, the silence feels worse. It's watching. And it's waiting. For you. The day turns slow and overcast, like the castle itself is unsure whether to let in the sun. Clouds drift low and lazy above the spires, and a soft mist clings to the windows like breath. You feel it before you see him, the anxious shuffling, the nervous energy that seems to ripple through the air like the static before a storm. Callan is in the corridor near the charms classroom, crouched low over a pile of scattered parchment. His satchel has split open again. Pages float like fallen feathers, and ink has spilled from an uncapped bottle, blooming across the stone like a dark, spreading bruise. You hurry over to help. He doesn't look up until you're already kneeling beside him. Don't tell Professor Flitwick, he mumbles, gathering a wet scroll with trembling hands. He thinks I've been improving. You don't say anything at first. Just hand him one of his quills. The end is bent. The ink has dried on the nib. Rough morning, you offer softly. He huffs a breath that's not quite a laugh. More like a rough life. There's something fragile in his smile, like thin glass painted over with color to hide the cracks. You see past it too easily. Your eyes drop to the thing sticking awkwardly from his belt. His wand, or what's left of it. The top half splinters off in uneven, jagged wood, held together with magical twine and something that looks suspiciously like spell-tape. The magic flickers unevenly from the core, a sickly glow of phoenix feather that pulses faintly with no rhythm. It's like watching a candle struggle against the wind. How did it break again? You ask gently. Callan shrugs, pretending indifference, but his fingers fidget with the hem of his sleeve. Fell. Hit the stairs. Stupid staircase moved while I wasn't looking. A pause. Then, more quietly, or maybe it was me. You know what he means. Sometimes, it's not a staircase. Sometimes, it's what's inside. The misfiring spells. The nerves. The way fear clings to him like a second skin. It's not just a wand, he says after a long pause. You know that, right? You nod. You do know. Wands are extensions of self. They carry your magic, but also your memory. They remember the shape of your hand, the sound of your voice. When a wand breaks, something else breaks with it. Callan looks up, finally meeting your eyes. There's something raw in his expression. It's like something snapped inside me too, and now I'm just holding it together with tape. There's nothing you can say to that. Not really. So you just sit with him, the spilled ink drying slowly around you, the scent of it sharp in your nose. The castle feels very large in that moment. Too large. Like a place that doesn't quite know what to do with people who fray. You've felt it too, haven't you? He says then. Your breath stills. The whisper? He nods. I heard it last night, just before I fell asleep. It was in the wall, right behind my bed. I thought maybe it was a dream. But then I woke up and my wand was, he glances down. It wasn't the stairs. Not really. I think it reacted to something. You feel the cold press of recognition. What did it say? He shakes his head. Nothing I understood. Just this, pressure in my skull. Like someone was speaking inside my bones. You know that feeling. I didn't want to tell anyone, he says, voice barely audible. I thought maybe it was just me. You know, me being me. Callan has always been the one to make the group laugh. The buffer. The brightness in darker hours. But there's always been a shadow beneath that light, something fractured, delicate. A fear of being the one who breaks. You realize now how much he's been carrying alone. It's not just you, you say gently. It's real. He gives a shaky breath, the kind you let out when you've been holding in something too heavy. So, what do we do? You hesitate. You want to tell him you have a plan. That Amari knows something. That Liz has books. that you've got this. But the truth is, you don't know what comes next. We stay together, you say finally. And we don't pretend it's not happening. Callan gives a small nod. Then, hesitantly, do you think it's dangerous? You think of the voice. The way it twisted through the air. The way it knew you. Yes, you whisper. But I don't think it wants to kill us. Not yet. Callan gives a tight smile. Comforting. You both rise slowly. He slings his satchel back over his shoulder with a resigned sigh. You see the way his one hangs crooked from his belt, like a limb healed wrong. And you wonder, not for the first time, what it means to hold magic that's broken. Later that day, in the common room, he sits beside you, fiddling with the wand again. The firelight flickers across his face, painting him in golden shadow. He's quieter than usual, but you feel the shift. He's trying to trust you with the parts of himself he usually hides. Sometimes, he says, I dream of the castle bleeding. Not red. Just water. From every stone. Like it's crying. Or maybe like it's trying to speak. You look at him. I think the castle remembers, you say softly. He doesn't ask what you mean. You both sit in silence for a while, listening to the soft crackle of the hearth, the murmur of other students, the slow, deep breathing of Hogwarts itself. And somewhere far below, beyond the floor and the stone in the silence, something stirs. Again. The rain begins quietly, like a whisper drawn across a window pane, soft and steady. It's one of those rare Hogwarts evenings where the castle seems to hush itself, lulled by the rhythm of weather and thought. In the library, the air is warm with the smell of old paper and lamp oil, and the corners are heavy with shadows that seem to lean in closer when no one's watching. You find Liz in the farthest corner, buried behind a stack of books tall enough to collapse if someone so much as sighed too loudly. She doesn't look up when you approach. Her eyes flick across a page in a tight, calculated rhythm, left to right, blink, turn, repeat. You don't interrupt her right away. You sit. You wait. You know Liz. She's like the books she guards, layered, sharp-edged, slow to open but impossible to ignore once she does. Eventually, she closes the volume with a soft thump, the dust puffing up in a sigh. You're late, she says, not looking at you. You glance at the rain against the tall, warped windows. Didn't know we had time. You always know, she replies, finally meeting your eyes. You just didn't want to come. There's no accusation in her voice. Just fact. Like always. Liz has never sugarcoated the truth. It's one of the things you admire and fear about her. You lean forward. What did you find? She slides the top book toward you without a word. It's old. The kind of old that makes your fingertips tingle before you even touch it. The leather is cracked, the lettering faded to near invisibility. But there's one symbol on the cover that makes your stomach twist, a serpent coiled around a key. Hidden Histories of Hogwarts, you read aloud. Banned in 3 houses, Liz says, matter of fact. Restricted for sensitive content, which usually means either blood magic, the founders, or something that eats students. You raise a brow. Comforting. She smirks, but it fades quickly. Her finger taps a page, careful and precise. Listen to this, she says. Some rooms in Hogwarts have no doors, only memories. The castle is not merely a building but a living vessel, shaped by desire and secrecy. Its deepest heart remembers the will of its makers, and some of their intentions were never meant to be kind. The words settle into the space between you like dust. You feel the weight of them in your chest. So it's true, you murmur. There's something hidden, something ancient. Liz nods. More than one thing, probably. But I think I found the one that matters. She flips forward several pages, revealing a crude illustration. A large snake, nearly dragon-like in its scale and stature, its mouth open wide as if in mid-hiss. Its eyes are empty circles. Below it, in careful script, the Basilisk, guardian of the hidden chamber. Your heart skips. A basilisk? That's just legend. Liz's eyes glint, catching the lamplight. So is the mirror of Ariste. So are thestrals. So are most things in this school, until you see them for yourself. She gestures to the paragraph beneath the image. The basilisk is a serpent bred through dark magic, born to obey only one voice. Its gaze is death, its venom irreversible. It can sleep for centuries and still wake hungry. Some believe it lies beneath the very school that birthed the four. Your mind races, the pieces clicking into place like a slow, dreadful melody. Salazar Slytherin. Liz nods again. He believed only the pure should learn magic. The others called him cruel. But he was clever. He didn't just leave Hogwarts, he left a legacy. And something to protect it. You stare down at the book, the sketch of the basilisk seeming to shimmer in the low light. You think it's real? That it's still here? Liz leans back, folding her arms. You heard the voice. So did Amari. And Callan. You know what it sounds like, slithering, whispering through pipes, through stone. Where do snakes live? In the dark, you reply. Where no one looks. Liz smiles, but it's not a happy smile. It's the kind people where when they're too tired to pretend they're not afraid. I think we've been looking with our eyes, she says softly. But we need to start listening with something else. Intuition. Instinct. This thing, it doesn't want to be found. It wants to choose. You glance at her. Choose? She meets your gaze evenly. You. It's speaking to you, isn't it? The admission feels like a door unlocking inside your chest. Slowly. Creaking. Old hinges, long rusted. You nod. Liz watches you for a long moment. Her expression is unreadable, thoughtful, but something else too. Concern, perhaps. Or fear she doesn't want to admit. She lowers her voice to barely a whisper. There's more. She pulls a second book from under the pile. This one is smaller, wrapped in a strip of velvet that falls away like a discarded spell. She opens it with care, revealing handwritten notes in crimson ink. It's a diary, she explains. Not a student's. A professor's. Years ago. Before even Dumbledore took over. She flips to a marked page. He was researching disappearances. Students vanishing inside the walls. He wrote that the castle sometimes opens its heart, but not everyone comes back out. And there's one line here. She reads aloud, the door has no handle, no lock. Only a whisper will open it. And not just any whisper, the right voice, spoken in the right tone. A chill runs through you. Parcel tongue. Liz nods, closing the book with a soft snap. If you can hear it, you might be able to speak it. And if that's true, then I might be able to find the chamber, you finish. The word hangs in the air like a hell breath. The chamber. No longer myth. No longer legend. But a place. A promise. A threat. Outside, the rain quickens, beating faster against the windows. A low rumble of thunder echoes across the sky, and the castle seems to flinch with the sound. You look at Liz. What do we do? She meets your gaze, calm and steady. We go deeper. We find the heart of this castle. And we make sure whatever's inside doesn't come crawling out. You nod. But in the quiet between the thunder, you think you hear it again, low and smooth, sliding through the stone. Come to me. This time, it doesn't sound like an invitation. It sounds like a command. Night drapes itself over Hogwarts like velvet, thick, dark, and edged in silver moonlight. The stone walls seem to hum with ancient tension, as if they too are listening, waiting. In the corridors where portraits slumber in half-sun dreams and torches flicker with uncertain flame, you walk alone. You're following the sound again. That whisper. That sliding voice you now know isn't in your head. It moves through the castle like a stream under ice, smooth and patient and terrifyingly real. But tonight, it feels different. Closer. You descend a staircase you've never noticed before, spiral, narrow, and colder than any path you've taken. It seems to pulse downward, coiling like the thing you fear. With every step, the air grows thinner, until each breath tastes like dust and old secrets. You reach the landing and pause. Before you is a corridor that doesn't exist on any map you've seen. The stones here are a different shade, darker, more polished, as if touched by hands that built them for a purpose long forgotten. And standing at the far end, almost lost in the shadows, is Amari. She does not look surprised to see you. She never does. Her eyes, that strange slate gray that shifts between storm and steel, settle on you with quiet knowing. I thought you might come, she says, her voice low and even. The castle led you, didn't it? You nod, the chill of the corridor sinking into your skin like mist through fabric. Amari turns and begins walking. You follow. She doesn't explain where you're going, and you don't ask. With Amari, silence is often louder than conversation. Her presence is like gravity, inevitable, gentle, inescapable. I've been coming here at night, she says eventually. Her voice echoes against the walls, the sound oddly flat, swallowed quickly by the air. The castle remembers. That's what Liz said. I think she's right. But it also listens. You glance around. The corridor is strange, not just in its cold or its color, but in its feel. The walls are smoother, subtly curved, like the inside of something alive. There's a hum beneath your feet, a low vibration that matches the cadence of your steps. What does it want, you ask? Amari stops. She looks up at a narrow arch carved into the wall, No door, no handle. Just an opening like a slit of shadow. Maybe to be understood, she says softly. Maybe to be feared. Maybe both. There's something in her tone that makes you shiver. Not because it's cruel, but because it's true. She steps through the archway, and you follow her into a circular room you never imagined existed. It's dimly lit by a soft green glow emanating from veins in the stone, like moss infused with moonlight. The air smells of mineral and memory, wet parchment, melted wax, and something sharp underneath. Something alive. This is not a place meant to be found. But Amari has found it. In the center of the room is a pool of water, still and black as ink. The surface is too perfect, too smooth. It does not reflect. It only waits. Amari kneels beside it. Callan thinks his one broke from fear, she says quietly. But I think it broke because something inside the castle resisted his presence. Something old and rigid. You kneel beside her. The surface of the water doesn't ripple, not even from your breath. I've seen things in this pool, she continues. But they don't look like memories. They look like futures that might have been. Or that still could be. You glance at her, surprised. Like a prophecy? She shakes her head slowly. No, not quite. More like fragments. Whispers that slip through the cracks of time. You both stare at the pool in silence. I think the basilisk isn't just a creature, Amari says, voice barely above a whisper. It's a symbol of something buried. Something all of us try to avoid seeing. You think about that. The whispers. The feeling of being watched even in your dreams. The terror that flickers at the edge of your consciousness like a tongue of smoke. You think it's awake? Amari finally looks at you. And for a moment, you see something rare, doubt. I think, she says slowly, that it's always been awake. Just waiting for the right voice. The implication lingers between you like a spell not yet cast. You remember what Liz read. Only a whisper will open it. You look into the pool. And you feel it then, the same whisper, not in your ears, but under your skin. A hiss that isn't a sound but a thought. Ancient. Patient. Inevitable. You rise suddenly, your breath sharp. It's calling again. Amari stands too. It knows you can hear it now. Your heart pounds, loud in your chest. Then it knows I'm coming. Amari nods once. There's no fear in her. Only calm resolve. And you won't be alone. You leave the room together, the pool behind you still and silent, though you feel its attention like a pressure on your back. As you retrace your steps through the cold corridor, Amari speaks once more. There's something else, she says. Something I haven't told the others. You glance at her. Her expression is unreadable, but her voice is not. There's hesitation there. And something heavier. I've seen the chamber before, she says at last. You stop walking. She continues. In a dream. Or something like it. A long, narrow hall carved from bone white stone. Pillars shaped like serpents. Eyes carved into the ceiling, watching. And at the end, a door without seams. I saw it open, but I didn't see what was behind it. Only a light. A sound like breathing. Your mouth is dry. You think it's real? Amari doesn't answer right away. Then, softly, I think it's waiting for us to make it real. The corridor feels colder now. The torch is dimmer. You walk the rest of the way in silence, both of you carrying something the other can't quite see. Back in the main hallway, the torches burn with their usual warmth again. The stone feels normal, solid, but the weight of what you've learned settles into your chest like frost. Amari turns to you before she leaves. Listen carefully, she says. This castle is older than any of us. It was built with intention, and not all those intentions were noble. You nod. And whatever's beneath it, she adds, whatever voice that speaks to you, it doesn't care about our rules, or our fears, or even our lives. You want to ask her what she does think it wants, but you're not sure you want to know the answer. So instead, you whisper, we'll face it. Together. Amari's eyes flicker. The faintest hint of a smile. Yes. But some doors, you'll have to open alone. And then she's gone, her shadow stretching long and strange against the stone as she disappears into the turning dark. Behind you, the silence hisses. And somewhere deep below the floor, the basilisk stirs. The days blur into one another. Time at Hogwarts has always moved differently, like the castle itself stretches and pulls at the very fabric of reality, refusing to conform to the usual rules. It lingers, heavy, as if every moment carries its own ancient weight. Each time you close your eyes, you feel it again, that whisper, just beneath your thoughts, threading through your dreams like a delicate, dangerous vine. The voice has become more insistent. Not louder, not braver, but subtler. A pull at the back of your mind. You can't quite understand the words, but you know they mean something. When you wake, it takes a moment to remember where you are. The familiar hum of the castle is almost comforting. Yet, deep down, there is an unshakable feeling something is wrong. And it's too quiet. It's always too quiet when it's close. You find Callan in the Gryffindor common room that afternoon, slumped in his favorite chair by the fire. His legs are splayed awkwardly, one arm draped over the armrest, but his eyes are far away, lost in some distant thought. The room around him is alive with the usual chatter of students, the crackle of the fire, the sound of cards being shuffled and parchment rustling, but Callan is silent, still, and distant. You approach cautiously, not wanting to disturb the bubble of his thoughts. Yet as you draw near, he shifts, his eyes blinking as if waking from a dream. You've been up here for a while, you say, your voice soft, cautious. Everything okay? He looks up at you, his smile weak. Yeah. Fine. Just tired. You hesitate. He doesn't look tired. He looks like someone who's been running in circles, trying to catch up with his own mind. It's something you've seen before, the way he wears exhaustion like an old coat that doesn't fit right anymore. You hear it too, don't you? His voice is low, barely a whisper, and there's an edge to it you've never heard before. The usual cheer that always clung to him is gone. You nod. You want to say something, reassure him, but you can't find the words. You both know what's coming. You both know the path ahead is leading somewhere you don't fully understand. He sits up slowly, running a hand through his hair, pushing it back from his forehead in frustration. I thought it was just me, he mutters, shaking his head. But it's not, is it? It's real. The whispers, you ask. He meets your gaze, and for a moment, there's a flicker of fear behind his eyes, something raw and fragile. I thought it was just my mind playing tricks. But every night, when I fall asleep, I hear it. Like it's in my dreams, in my thoughts. It feels like something is pulling at me from inside the castle. You swallow, feeling a chill that has nothing to do with the temperature of the room. It's not just you. Callan looks relieved, but there's still that underlying terror in his voice. I don't know how to fight it. I mean, I don't even know what it is. The fire crackles and pops, the warm glow of the flames creating a false sense of calm. The shadows flicker on the walls like they're alive, too. You can hear the distant murmurs of other students, but in this corner, there is only you and Callan, and this strange sense of inevitability that hangs between you. I don't think it wants to hurt us, you say slowly, but the words taste strange as they leave your lips. You don't truly believe them, not entirely, but you want to. You want to believe that whatever is whispering to you is not as dangerous as it feels. Callan doesn't seem convinced, but he doesn't argue. Instead, he pulls something from his bag, his broken wand. The tip is still jagged, held together by a thin thread of magic and a bit of spell-tape. It glows weakly, like a dying ember, unable to hold its usual power. I've tried everything, he says, his voice barely a whisper. But it doesn't work. It's like something's blocking the magic. Like my wand knows something I don't. You take the wand from him, holding it carefully in your hands. It feels heavier than it should, the broken tip sending a faint, uneasy tremor through your fingers. The glow fades and flickers, casting strange shadows across the walls. You're about to hand it back to him when you hear it, the whisper. So faint, it's almost imperceptible, a murmur that barely brushes against your consciousness. It's coming from the wand. For a heartbeat, everything in the room grows still, as if the castle itself is holding its breath. Did you hear that? You whisper, your voice tight in your throat. Callan stares at you, his eyes wide. You heard it too. You nod. The whisper feels like it's coming from the very air around you now, a cold, slithering presence that clings to your skin. It's not just a sound, it's a pressure. It's a force. Before either of you can say anything more, there's a knock at the door. Liz enters, her usual unreadable expression on her face. There's something about her posture tonight, her shoulders tense, her movements sharp, that catches your attention immediately. Liz, you ask, though you already know something is wrong. Her eyes dart around the room before settling on the two of you. You're still hearing it, she says, her voice quiet but urgent. Callan nods, still clutching his broken wand. It's in my head. I thought it was just me, but I heard it again. This time, it was louder. It feels like it's coming from everywhere. Even from my wand. Liz's gaze flickers to the one in your hands, and she steps forward. It's not just in your head. It's real. I've been following the sound, and I think it's leading us somewhere. I think it's coming from the same place the chamber is hidden. You freeze. The chamber? Liz nods again. It's calling us. Or, at least, it's calling you. All of us. I've been looking into it. The more I read, the more I realize we're not just dealing with some ancient monster locked away for centuries. We're dealing with something that has its roots deep inside Hogwarts. Something the founders tried to bury. Something that remembers the old days. You glance at Callan, then back at Liz. What do you mean by remembers? She meets your eyes, her own sharp with clarity. The castle itself. Hogwarts isn't just bricks and mortar. It's alive in its own way. It remembers the magic of the founders, and it remembers what they did when they built it. This creature, the Basilisk, it's tied to the castle itself, to the very heart of it. And whatever is waking up now, it's linked to that ancient magic. It's pulling us down into the darkness. For a moment, you stand there, the weight of her words pressing down on you, filling the room with a thick, suffocating atmosphere. Liz's next words are softer, almost a whisper. We need to go deeper. And we need to do it now. There's no question in her tone. No hesitation. You don't even need to ask where. You know. The same place the voice has been calling you to. The heart of the castle. The chamber beneath the school that was never meant to be found. You don't speak. There's nothing left to say. Callan, his expression now heavy with a kind of reluctant understanding, finally nods. The three of you leave the common room together, each step heavy with anticipation, each breath sharp with the knowledge that once you step deeper into the castle's heart, there's no turning back. The whispers grow louder as you move through the halls, louder with each step. Come to me. You think you hear it say your name, but you're not sure. And you don't want to know. Not yet. The hallways of Hogwarts are labyrinthine in a way that makes your skin crawl with an eerie sense of déjà vu. You're walking in the dark now, the weight of centuries pressing down upon you, the stone walls watching in silence. The whispers are stronger here, a soft hiss in the corners of your mind, threading through the very air, cold and unfathomable. Every step forward takes you deeper into the heart of the castle, into something forgotten and ancient. The moonlight, pale and thin, filters through narrow windows that seem to appear out of nowhere, casting long shadows that seem to stretch like fingers in search of something lost. You and Callan follow Liz without question, her movements silent and swift, her eyes sharp as she navigates the twisting corridors with a certainty that makes you uneasy. There's no hesitation in her. It's as if she knows exactly where she's going, and though the thought should bring comfort, it only raises the hairs on the back of your neck. You're not sure whether it's the darkness or the feeling of being led into something you can't quite understand that unsettles you more. The whispers grow louder the deeper you go, their murmurings curling around you, slipping through the cracks in your mind like water through stone. You swear you hear your name among the hisses, soft, like a sigh, but sharp enough to make your pulse quicken. Your thoughts feel heavier now, your body aching with the effort of ignoring the sensation that something is watching you, just out of sight. Liz doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. You can feel it too, the pull, the lure, the undeniable gravity of whatever lies ahead. After what feels like hours of winding through unfamiliar passages, you reach a large, iron-bound door. It's unlike anything you've seen in Hogwarts before. The door is not part of the usual architecture, not part of the grand, timeless design of the school. This one is different, taller, darker, more imposing. It seems to hum with an energy that sets your teeth on edge, the air thick and charged with a power you don't understand. The door looks almost alive, as if it were made of something other than stone and metal, something older, something that resists time itself. Liz stops in front of it, her fingers brushing lightly against the cold iron. Her expression is unreadable, but there's a flicker in her eyes, something like recognition, something ancient. She takes a deep breath, her chest rising and falling in the still air, and for a brief moment, you think she might turn back. But she doesn't. Instead, she turns to you and Callan, her voice low, almost a whisper. This is it. The chamber. You swallow hard, the words sitting heavily on your tongue. The weight of it presses down on you, as though the very name carries with it a history that is both unsettling and inescapable. The Chamber of Secrets. You've heard the legend. You've heard the rumors, the stories passed down over generations. But standing here, in front of this door, with the whispers in the air and the darkness pressing in on all sides, the legend doesn't seem like a story anymore. It feels real. Alive. Waiting. Are we ready? You ask, your voice a little shakier than you intended. Liz doesn't immediately respond. She just stares at the door, her eyes distant, as if listening to something you can't hear. The silence stretches out, thick and suffocating. I don't know, she says finally, her voice quiet. But we don't have a choice now. There's a strange certainty in her words, and though you don't fully understand it, you can feel the truth of it in your bones. You've come this far. There's no turning back. Callan's hand trembles beside you, and you glance at him. He's pale, his usual bravado gone, replaced by a vulnerability you've never seen before. His fingers curl around the broken wand, the glow dim and flickering. He looks at the door, his breath shallow, and for a moment, you think he might turn and run. But then he looks up at you, his eyes wide and uncertain, but determined. We can do this, he says, though there's no real conviction in his voice. It's more like he's trying to convince himself than you. You nod, though the uncertainty gnaws at your insides. The air around you is electric, charged with a tension you can't explain. It feels as though something is just beyond the door, waiting for you, its presence pressing against the walls of the castle like a breath held in a chest. Liz steps forward, her hand resting lightly on the cold iron. She mutters something under her breath, a word, or maybe a phrase, but you don't catch it. The door doesn't budge. There's no movement, no sound, just the stillness of the stone and the whispers growing louder. And then, without warning, the door creaks. The sound is so loud that it feels like it reverberates through your bones. The wood groans, the metal scraping against itself as if reluctantly giving way. The door opens slowly, revealing a dark passage beyond, a tunnel that seems to stretch on forever, disappearing into the shadows. The air that rushes out of it is cold and stale, like something that has been locked away for too long. It smells of earth, of ancient things, of dust and decay. But beneath it all, there's something else. Something sharp. Something alive. Liz doesn't hesitate. She steps into the dark tunnel, her figure disappearing into the shadows. Callan follows, and you, unable to do anything else, follow them both. As you move deeper into the tunnel, the walls around you grow tighter, the air thinner. The whispers are louder now, not just in your mind but all around you, curling and twisting, filling the space with a sound like 100 voices speaking all at once. You try to block it out, to focus on the sound of your footsteps, the steady rhythm of your breath, but it's impossible. The whispers slip into your thoughts, pulling at your mind like something alive, something that has been waiting for you. There are no torches here, no light except for the faint glow of Liz's wand. The shadows seem to cling to you, to wrap around you like a cloak, and for a moment, you wonder if you'll ever see the light again. The deeper you go, the more the tunnel feels alive, the walls shifting and breathing, as if the very stone itself is watching you, judging you. And then you reach the end. The tunnel opens into a vast chamber, the size of a small stadium, and for a moment, you can only stand there, frozen, taking in the sight before you. The air in the chamber is thick and heavy, pressing against you from all sides. The floor is made of smooth, black stone, slick with moisture, and there are markings etched into the walls, symbols that twist and coil like serpents. You don't understand them, but you can feel their weight, their power, settling over you. In the center of the room is a pedestal, and on that pedestal is a large, glassy orb. It gleams with an eerie light, its surface smooth and unbroken. The whispers are louder here, their source unknown, but they feel closer, more insistent, almost like a presence pressing against your chest, pushing you forward. Liz steps forward, her hand outstretched, but before she can touch the orb, the chamber shudders. The ground trembles beneath your feet, and a deep, resonant sound rumbles through the walls, like the growl of a sleeping beast. You freeze. The whispers stop. For a long moment, there is only silence. A silence so deep it feels like the whole world has held its breath. Then, you hear it. A hiss. Low and guttural, it ripples through the air, like the sound of a snake coiling, its body shifting through the dark. The hiss grows louder, sharper, its power pulsing through the stone beneath your feet. And then, another hiss, this one unmistakable, unmistakably close. The basilisk is awake. Your heart races, blood pounding in your ears. The air grows colder, the whispers turning into something else, something more sinister. A slithering, crawling presence that fills the room like a shadow, curling around you, filling every corner. Liz's voice cuts through the silence, her tone sharp and urgent. Get ready. It's not just waiting. It's hunting. You don't need to be told twice. The chamber has awoken, and it wants you. The hiss of the basilisk is deafening. It fills the air with a venomous presence, a sound that rattles your bones and clogs your throat. You feel the weight of it pushing down on your chest, your breath growing shallow as the air grows colder, thicker. Your mind races, heart pounding as your feet remain rooted to the stone floor, every part of you fighting the overwhelming instinct to flee, to run, to escape the suffocating darkness of the chamber. But Liz, steady as ever, doesn't move. She doesn't flinch. Instead, she holds her wand high, the pale light casting flickering shadows on the walls as if trying to ward off the growing dread. Callan stands beside you, his face pale and drawn, his broken wand held with trembling hands. You can hear his breath coming fast and shallow, his chest rising and falling in a rhythm that's almost too rapid, too erratic. He's scared, no, terrified, but he's still here, still standing, still willing to face whatever is coming. His courage isn't in the absence of fear, it's in spite of it. The basilisk's hiss grows louder, a deep, guttural noise that shakes the very air, sending vibrations through the stone beneath your feet. The chamber seems to pulse with it, the shadows themselves writhing, twisting like serpents in the dark. And then, with a slow, deliberate movement, something shifts in the darkness ahead. A flicker of movement, too fast for your eyes to follow, and then you see it. The basilisk. Its scales gleam like polished obsidian, dark and slick, reflecting the dim light of your wand. Its eyes gleam with an unholy glow, shining like twin orbs of molten gold, and the sheer size of it takes your breath away. Its body coils around the pedestal, wrapping around it like a serpent around its prey, its massive form undulating with a power that threatens to break the world in two. The air around you seems to crackle with energy, the very room itself bending to its will. The creature is ancient, older than anything you've ever encountered, its presence a weight that presses down on your soul, on your very essence. You know, without a shadow of a doubt, that the basilisk is not just a creature. It is a force of nature. A remnant of something older than Hogwarts, something tied to the castle itself. And as its eyes fixate on you, the three of you, you realize with a sickening certainty that it has been waiting for this moment for centuries. Liz takes a step forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. We can't fight it directly. We need to outsmart it, confuse it. We have to get to the heart of this chamber, to the pedestal. That's where it all started. You nod, even though the terror inside you threatens to paralyze you. The basilisk's gaze is so intense, so filled with malice, that you can feel it from here. Its eyes are like burning coals, and you know that a single glance could end everything. You want to run, to escape, but there's nowhere to go. The chamber is vast, but the basilisk fills it with a suffocating presence, an inescapable gravity. It's not just hunting you. It's hunting your fear, feeding off it, growing stronger with every heartbeat. Callan swallows, his voice barely audible as he speaks. How do we even get close to it? We're not strong enough. It'll kill us. We'll find a way, Liz says, her voice sharp, cutting through the fear like a whip. Stay close. Don't let it see you. The whispers, which had been distant but insistent, now return with a vengeance. They twist in your mind, pulling at your thoughts, clouding your judgment. It's the basilisk's influence, you realize. The creature's power is not just physical, it extends into your mind, filling it with doubts, with fears, with images of death. It wants you to lose control, to break. But you won't. Not yet. You and Callan follow Liz as she moves deeper into the chamber, each step measured, deliberate. The basilisk watches, its golden eyes tracking your every move, its massive head rising slightly as it senses your approach. You can feel its presence, an overwhelming force that fills the room with an almost palpable tension. It's as if the air itself is charged with the energy of its malevolence, and your skin prickles with the weight of it. The closer you get to the pedestal, the more the chamber seems to bend around you, the walls tightening, the shadows thickening. The basilisk's tongue flicks out, a long, serpentine appendage that hisses as it cuts through the air, and you feel the temperature drop even further, a biting cold creeping into your bones. You're almost at the pedestal now, just a few more steps, but you can feel the creature's gaze on you. It's waiting, watching. It knows what you're planning, knows you're trying to reach the heart of this place. You don't have much time. Liz raises her wand, her voice low and steady. We need to distract it. Callan, do you have? But Callan is already moving. His broken wand flickers with a faint, weak glow, but it's enough. His voice cracks as he mutters the incantation, and a burst of light shoots from the end of his wand, bright and erratic. It hits the far corner of the room, and the basilisk recoils slightly, its head snapping toward the light. It's just a distraction, a temporary reprieve. But it's enough. Liz seizes the moment, stepping forward with an agility that belies her calm exterior. She moves toward the pedestal, her eyes locked on the orb that rests at its center. The basilisk hisses again, louder this time, the sound reverberating off the walls and shaking the very air. It lunges forward, its massive body coiling, preparing to strike. And that's when you realize something. The whispers are not just in your mind. They are coming from the pedestal. The orb. It's alive with the same energy that fills the chamber. The creature's power, its ancient magic, is tied to it. Liz, you shout, your voice shaking as the basilisk draws closer. The orb. It's controlling it. Liz doesn't hesitate. She raises her wand, speaking the incantation that has been buried in her memory, something old, something forgotten. The light that pulses from her wand is bright, nearly blinding, as it strikes the orb. The chamber shakes again, a deep, resonant sound that rattles your teeth. The basilisk recoils, its hissing turning into a roar, a sound so powerful that the ground trembles beneath you. It's not just in your head anymore. The air itself feels alive, crackling with energy, with magic that has been locked away for too long. And then, just as quickly as it began, it stops. The silence is deafening. You blink, your ears ringing, and when your vision clears, the basilisk is still there, coiled tightly around the pedestal, but it's not moving. Its golden eyes have dulled, the fierce light dimming to an almost neutral gleam. The power that was once so overwhelming has subsided, leaving the room heavy and still. Liz lowers her wand, her breath shallow. She steps closer to the pedestal, her fingers brushing the orb once again. It no longer hums with that ancient energy. It's still, quiet. For the first time since entering the chamber, you feel like you can breathe again. The weight of the creature's gaze no longer presses against your chest. The whispers, once maddening, have disappeared. But you know the danger isn't over. The chamber is still alive, still pulsing with the dark magic that has been tied to it for centuries. You glance at Liz, then at Callan, and you all share the same thought. You've won this battle, but the war isn't over. Liz turns toward you, her face pale but resolute. It's not dead, but we've sealed it for now. It won't harm anyone else. Callan exhales a shaky breath, relief flooding through his body, and though his wand is still broken, there's a glimmer of hope in his eyes now. We did it. We survived. You can't help but nod, though the weight of what's happened hangs heavy in the air. The Chamber of Secrets may be sealed for now, but the magic of Hogwarts, of the castle itself, will always be a reminder of what lies beneath, and what is still waiting. As you leave the chamber, the whispers fade into nothing, but you can't shake the feeling that, deep down, the castle is watching, waiting for the next time the secret will need to be uncovered. Until then, Hogwarts remains forever alive. Thank you for joining me tonight on this peaceful journey. As the story fades into the quiet whispers of the night, I hope you feel a sense of calm settling over you, like a gentle wave of peace washing through your mind and heart. Let the world around you grow still, and let your body relax into the comfort of your bed. The magic of this story will stay with you, like a soft melody that lulls you into rest. As you drift off into a peaceful sleep, remember that tomorrow is another day for new adventures, but for now, just breathe deeply and let go. You are safe, you are calm, and all is well. Good night, my friend. Sleep peacefully.